everyone, welcome back to the channel. If you're joining us for the first time, welcome. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel, and to my returning subscribers, thank you guys so much. In today's video, I'll be sharing with you how to draft this strapless bustier top pattern that you are seeing on your screen. I'll be attaching what you can achieve this pattern with on the screen, so make sure you give this video a thumbs up, subscribe to the channel, and please watch the video till the end. To draft this pattern, I will be making use of this pattern paper. You guys can see I already went ahead to cut this into two. So this is for the front and the back. So make sure that when you're cutting out your pattern, you cut a pattern that is enough, like very enough to cut your half length, your bust, your waist, circumference, and you had a lot of allowance to it. So that's what I did when I was cutting out my pattern. Then I have my tape measurement, my marker, and my ruler. So now we get right straight into the video. So the first thing I'm going to do is to rule a straight line here. This line that you are seeing now is my starting line. It's also known as the shoulder line. The next thing I'm going to do is to measure from my shoulder to my chest line. So in order to get your shoulder from your shoulder to your chest line, you're going to divide your bust measurement, your bust circumference divided by 6. Whatever that it gives you, you're going to add 1.5 inches to it. So that is how to get your chest line measurement. So I'm just going to rule a straight line across this point, which is the chest line measurement. So I'm just drawing a straight line. And then I will mark from the shoulder to the bust point. So from the shoulder to the bust point is 11 inches. So I will use the ruler to draw a straight line across that point. And then from the shoulder to the under bust. So from the shoulder to the under bust, which is 14 inches. So I'm just going to draw a straight line across that line as well. And then from the shoulder to the half length measurement. So from shoulder to half length measurement is 16. So this is what we have. I'm going to go ahead and label this so you guys can understand. So the shoulder line, the chest line, the bust point, the under bust, and then the length, the half length. Our shoulder measurement is 16, which is 16 divided by 2. It gives us 8. So I'm going to mark that down. Then I will mark the same thing down on my chest line, which is that 8 inches. And then I will make sure I connect this point together. So I'm just going to draw a straight line to connect the points together. So now that we have this, I'm going to get the midpoint of this. So the midpoint of this, we have 7.6 inches here. Then I'm just going to get the midpoint of it. I'll mark that down, and then I will come in by half an inch for the armhole. So now I'm just going to connect from here to here, and then I'll just curve it to get my armhole. So now that we have gotten the armhole, the next thing to do is to get the bust span measurement, which is also known as the nipple to nipple measurement. So the nipple to nipple measurement is 8 inches. So I'm going to divide that into 2. I will mark that down. So I'll mark it down on the chest line. I will mark it down on the bust point. I will mark it down on the under bust, and then on the half length. Now I'll connect all the points together using my pen. I'm not going to use marker. You guys will understand why I'm using my pen later. So I'm just going to draw a straight line to connect the point together. I hope you guys can see. This is a pen. So now the next thing to do is to come to the neck area. So for the neck depth, I will be using 3 inches. We are going to use the neck in this video anyway, but I'm just going to show you in order to have your yoke. So now I'm just going to go in by 3.5 inches for the front neck, and then I'll come down by 3 inches. So I'm just going to curve that to get my round neckline. Now the next thing to do is to come down on this shoulder line by 1 inch, and I'm just going to slant it for my shoulder slope. Coming down by 1 inch on your chest line, you come to your waistline, you go in by 1/2 inch, and you come out by 1/2 inch, and then you slant it back into this 1 inch on that we came down by on the chest line in order to get your dart. That is why we are doing this. So now I'm just going to draw that. So this is our dart. Now the next thing to do is to come to this shoulder, and then you divide your shoulder, this line here, you divided by 2, and then you mark down what you have. Now you're going to connect this to the bust point. So you connect this line to the bust point. Now on this chest line, you're going to come up by 1.5 inches. You come up by 1.5 inches. And the reason we are doing this is to get the sweetheart neckline. So that's why we are having this. Now I'm just going to draw a straight line to connect the points together. So on this line, you're going to come out by 1/2 inch. And you come in by 1/2 inch on both sides, and then you use your curve ruler to, you're not going to curve it too much, you just curve it a little bit to meet your bust point. Now to get your sweetheart neckline, remember on this chest line, so you can either cut your sweetheart neckline on this chest line, but remember that the chest line is very close to the bust. So if you don't want your boobs to reveal, if you don't want your cleavage to show too much, then you need to come up by 1/2 inch. You come up by 1/2 inch. But if you don't mind, you can leave it like that, you understand, to cut your sweetheart neckline. But in this video, I'm just going to come up by 1/2 inch. So now from this 1/2 inch, I'm going to curve it like this to the top of my dart, this dart here, to form my sweetheart neckline. Like I said, if you want yours to be very, very open, you don't need to come up by 1/2 inch. You can just curve it to your chest line like this. The next thing to do is to come to the under bust. So you're going to be working on the under bust to get the under bust tightening. All you need to do is that you need to come in by 1/2 inch, and then you come out by 1.5 inches. You repeat same thing on the waistline. So you come in by 1/2 inch, then you go out by 1.5 inches. So you're going to use your marker to connect the point together. So this is what we have. I hope you guys can see it very well. Now I'm just going to use my curve ruler to connect it to the bust point. So remember this 1/2 inch and 1.5 inches that we have, you need to connect it back to the bust point. So I'm going to be using my curve ruler to connect that to the bust point. So So now this is what we have. This point here, this line here, we need to connect it back into the armhole. So I'm just going to use my curve ruler to connect this back into the armhole, just like this. So now I will come to this waistline. Remember, I'm going to be taking my measurement from the center front. So on this waistline, I'm going to divide, our waist measurement divided by 4, which is 7.5. And then this allowance that we have here, that will be cutting out, this one that will be cutting out, I will need to replace that measurement back into this. So that 2 inches, I have to add that 2 inches to my measurement. And then I'm not going to be adding allowance to this pattern. So when you are cutting this on your fabric, remember to add sewing allowance to it. So now I will come to the bust point. I'm going to divide our bust circumference divided by 4. I'm taking my measurement from the center front. So now our bust measurement divided by 4 is 9.25. I'm just going to mark that down here. And then this 1 inch that we take from here, this 1 inch from this line, I'm going to replace it back on the bust point as well. So whatever that I have here, I'm going to replace it back on the chest line measurement. I hope you guys can understand. If you don't, just watch what I'm doing closely. So I'm replacing it back. What I have here, the measurement I have on this bust point, I'm replacing it back on the chest line. So I'm just going to connect it together. So this is what we have. From this bust point, I'm going to come down by 2 inches for the side dart. So from that 2 inches, I'm going to connect it back to the bust point. The bust point here. Yeah, so that's what I'm going to do. And I'm going to connect it back to the bust point. So that is for the side dart. So we'll be folding this part in. We're not going to be leaving it. We're going to fold it in. Now, all these places that I mark like this, we'll be cutting them out. We don't need them. Now, the next thing to do is to start cutting them out. So what I'm going to do is that I'm going to start from this dart here. I'm going to cut it like this into my bust point and just leave it like that. And then I'll cut the other side as well. The next thing I will cut is this side. And then remember the dart, the side dart. So I'm going to cut that. I'm not going to cut it out through. I'm just going to cut it till and leave a little bit of space like this. And then I'm going to cut this part that we don't need. I'm going to cut it out. So then I will cut the armhole, the sweetheart neckline, and then this dart. So this is what we have. Now, when you are joining it on your fabric, when you are cutting this out on your fabric, remember to, because you see this is what we have, remember to add your sewing allowance to it. I did not add any stitching allowance to this pattern. I will be adding it to the fabric. So now the next thing to do is just to use your pin to hold them together like this, so you can just have an idea of what you are working with. So you guys can see what we have. Don't forget to cut this part out. So this is what we have for the front piece. So I can just as well just use my pin to hold them together, just for you guys to have an idea how it's going to be on your fabric. So I'm just going to use my pin to hold them together to show you guys, you know, how it's going to look like on your fabric. So you guys can see that this cup is very, very, you know, spacious. So you guys can see how the inside is. So this is not your fabric, so it's a bit hard to, you know, fold into two. So now I'm just going to transfer this to my fabric, but before that, let's work on the back. Let's work on the back piece. For the back piece, I went ahead to just draw the same line, the chest line, the bust point, the under bust, and the waistline. So it's still the same thing as we did for the front piece. So shoulder line, chest line, bust point, under bust, and then the waistline. Then I also went ahead to draw this line for my zip allowance. That if you're adding zip. So I went ahead to add the zip for the zip allowance, and then the shoulder. So I'm just going to draw a straight line to connect, you know, the shoulder measurement together. So this is what we have, and then I'll get the midpoint of this just the way we did for the front piece. I will get the midpoint of this, you know, and then I will curve it to get my armhole. I will come to the neckline. I will go in by 3.5, just the way we did for the front piece, and then for the neck depth of the back, I'm only coming down by 1 inch, and then use my curve ruler to connect the neckline. So this is for the neckline, and then I will divide my bust span measurement, which is my nipple to nipple measurement, which is 4, from this line, from this zip allowance line. Yes, so I will go in by 4, which is the bust span measurement, by 4, same thing on the waistline, under bust, and the waistline. And then I will use my pen to draw a straight line. So now for the back dart, I'm going to come down on this chest line by 1 inch. This is for the back dart, this back. So you come down by 1 inch from your chest line, and then on the waistline you go in by 1/2 inch, and you come out by 1/2 inch. So you're just going to connect it together to form your darts. So this is for the back dart. And then the next thing to do is to divide your bust circumference variable by 4. You know, you mark down whatever that it gives you. Your waist circumference divided by 4. You mark down whatever that it gives you. And then on this waistline, this 1 inch for the dart that I'll be taking in, I have to replace it back, you know. So I've replaced that back here. And then whatever that I have here on my bust line, which is the bust circumference divided by 4, this allowance that I have here, which is the 1/2 inch, I have to replace it back. You know, for the darts, I have to replace it back. So whatever I have on my bust point, I will mark the same thing on my chest line. Remember, we are not adding allowance to this pattern paper. So this is what we have for the back. So I'm just going to go ahead and cut it out. Please do not forget your shoulder slope, because this pattern, this bustier pattern, does not need, you know, this upper part. So but I'm just cutting it for the sake of this tutorial. So this is for the front. So I'm just going to label it center front, side front. Remember, when you are cutting it, you are cutting the center front on fold. Remember, you are cutting this on fold, and you cut the side front, 2 pieces of the side front. And then this is for the back. So I'm just going to label this yoke. So it's going to be like the front yoke and the back. So this is what we have. So we have the back and we have the front. So I'm just going to set the yoke aside and then show you guys the center front and the side front and then the back. So this is what we have. So the next video will be about how to cut this and sew them. So make sure you subscribe to the channel so you can get notified when I drop the next video. So that's that about this pattern on how to cut, your boob tube top or your bustier top. So that's that about how to cut that. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you do, make sure you give this video a thumbs up, subscribe to the channel, turn on your post notification bell so you get to know anytime I drop new videos. Thank you so much for watching till the end. I will see you guys in the next video. Bye.